How's it, everybody? On this episode of Let's Chat, we've got Ryan Wilkins joining us. Ryan, how's it going?
Hello, Quentin. Thank you for having me.
Cool, man. Listen, okay, so the reason why I wanted you on here is that I know you use a lot of mindset in that. When we spoke briefly before, you use a lot of mindset in business. Before we get into that, I wanted to ask you if you can maybe just share with us what line of business are you in, what type of business are you in, if you can maybe just share a little bit about your history on that side of things, if you don't mind.
Perfect. So the business that I'm currently in at the moment, I have a wholesale company. We import some products from Europe, from the States, in the motorcycle industry. We distribute them nationwide and into some of our neighboring countries in sub-Saharan Africa. I've also got a retail store based as an e-commerce platform as well, but we have a boutique store incorporated with it as well, also within the motorcycle industry.
Okay, and tell me, I remember now, all your stuff is in the motorcycle industry. What's the reason for that? Do you come from a biking background, or what? How did you get into it?
No, I left school. I studied hotel management. From there, I figured out that I really enjoyed the hospitality side of things. I enjoy hosting people. I like having parties. I like socializing, networking. It's sort of my thing. And I went into a lot of corporate positions. I worked in selling cars. I've worked for part tool manufacturing companies, imported from around the world. And somewhere along the line, I've always been involved with friends that have been riding motorcycles. Dirt bikes specifically. I liked the events. We went out there. It was boys and toys, getting nice and dirty. And at that stage, I wasn't able to get a motorcycle. My mother is a nurse, and she's seen all the bad things that can happen within the motorcycle industry. So when I was working and earning a salary myself, the first thing that I did was buy myself a motorcycle.
As you do.
Exactly. I bought myself a very big machine. It was a Yamaha Raptor quad bike. It was a 700cc. It was a 700cc, and I started having lots of fun on it. I crashed a few times, but I didn't get too hurt on it, which I was fortunate about. We then moved on and sold a quad bike, carried on working within the corporate industry, and I wanted to get a two-wheeler motorcycle, two-stroke specifically. And at that stage where I was working, it was based on the Far East Rand, and there was only one retail store in Edenvale that you could get the stuff from, or you could get your tools and spares and accessories from. And one of my friends at that stage had just recently launched an e-commerce platform for a passion that he was involved in with tennis. And he mentioned to me that I should look at doing something online with e-commerce. And the only thing that I did as I grew up was play football, soccer. I didn't see a market for it. It didn't make sense. I didn't know how to position or develop an e-commerce platform in the soccer field. But when I purchased the motorcycle, it was a Gas 300 two-stroke. The consumables that you needed, I needed to drive all the way into Edenvale to go and get it. And all of a sudden I thought, wait, hang on. Maybe there's an opportunity here to create a platform, an e-commerce platform, where people could purchase the accessories online. I then did what needed to be done. I bought a shelf company, got a company registered, got a bank account, and did the whole administration side of it. And I did what needed to be done in order to get the brands to be represented within the industry. From the major players, all the brands that everybody wanted, the oils, the consumables. And I started going at the e-commerce platform from there. It started to pick up some momentum. And obviously networking within the industry itself, a lot of the suppliers were looking for brick and mortar. And the perception with e-commerce is that everybody operates from their house, and their overheads are very low. At that, I did start from my house. I started from a cupboard behind my desk in my study, and my friends all used to come to the house and were very chuffed that they had a connection that could get gear and oils and consumables, and I had it in this cupboard. And one of my friends still thought I was the best things because I had all this motorcycle stuff in my cupboard. We developed from there, and I managed to affiliate myself with a workshop. I'm not too technically minded, but I know the theory behind most things that need to be done.
Yes.
So we positioned ourselves together that he would operate the workshop and I would operate the retail store. And together we would then develop this platform that we had. As we were networking and moving on, the company got a little bit bigger. I then, at that stage, decided to go completely on my own because I was working 2 jobs. I had my corporate profile that I was working on, and then I had this e-commerce working for myself, entrepreneurial position. I gave up the corporate industry and decided to work for myself and have a flat out go at the e-commerce retail platform. I did that. I was involved in a motorcycle accident on the Saturday when I was supposed to open up my store on the Monday. And I spent the first week in hospital opening up the store. I had broken my right femur and left collarbone at a race in Middleburg.
Were you doing enduros at that stage, I assume?
Cross country, the off-road side we run on the cross country, so it's more the open field, big loops, and then come back, try and see as fast as you can go, obviously.
Yes. And tell me, Ryan, how long ago was this that you started this online platform?
The retail platform, the e-commerce platform, I started in 2013, and when I opened up to go into the retail store was in 2015.
Okay, and then is the online platform still running now?
Correct. Okay. Yeah, so we still have the online platform. One of the, just on a bit of history on it, one of the disadvantages that most hiccups happen with the e-commerce platform is that you order your item and the shop either doesn't have it in stock or the supplier doesn't have it. Yes. So one of the things that we've tried to strategize for is to purchase all of our stock so that we have the stock. So anything that you see on the e-commerce platform, we have it in stock. Obviously, that comes with a range of benefits from it. Service delivery, 60% of our inquiries come online. So whether it's phone, email, or online orders, but there's still that 40% of the clientele that walk into the door. And again, we position ourselves not as a retail store, more as an e-commerce platform. So there's no advertising. We're not on a mainstream highway or any advertising boards or anything else like that. But there's still that 40% of customers that walk in. And the idea is that to keep the stock here so that if somebody walks in, it's not that I don't have it and I still need to get it. The item is here, you can take it straight away.
Yeah, so tell me, where's your shop at the moment?
We are based in Boksburg on the East Rand.
Okay. All right, cool. So let's jump in. I know when we spoke in that, we spoke briefly about the mindset side of things, and that I know that you've, as we all do, have had some experiences in life. Do you want to maybe share with us what has been some of the challenges in business and maybe outside of business that you've sort of had to deal with and mentally how did you maybe explain the process on how you had to get yourself through it, or maybe something that you're still continuing, that you're dealing with, so that you've had to sort of work with from a mindset perspective?
I was, when I was in my younger years, it decided to try and take things out of my own. I don't, so a bit of history on myself. I don't come from a broken home. I'm very blessed with the family that I have. The foundation, the support structure, I went to school. I didn't fail. Not that I didn't fail. I just did everything I did just to pass. I didn't excel at the school. But I am outgoing. I like my own way. I like things my own way. Whether it's a blessing or whether it's a curse has sort of got me to where I am now. And I struggle with an inferiority complex. I've always grown up trying to impress everybody else, whether it's on a sports field, whether it's in business, whether it's personal, at home, whatever it is like that.
Okay.
And I managed to deal with life in certain aspects, and I got introduced to everything that life got to give me when I was 21. Part of that thing was drinking, part of that thing was drugs. I then took it to the extreme, and unfortunately I struggled with a bit of a substance abuse.
Okay, cool.
And I did what needed to be done in order to get myself right, because I realized that there were certain things that were falling away and I couldn't understand why. Yes. I went to a rehabilitation center, and for me it was a blessing because I found things there that I didn't know how to deal with the world coming out. There was challenges. I couldn't make sense. I mean, my binge years had sort of been for 10 years. And now for 10 years, once you've done something for so long, and for somebody to say that everything that you've done is wrong, it becomes difficult to try and make sense about what is right and where the problem areas come into play. So I've practiced the program as best as I can to get to me where I am. Some of, you know, you have a spiritual background, you have a mental background. For me, my higher power is God. I'm not a religious person. I don't go to church every day or to church on weekends, but I do believe that there's a power that's there that is not mine.
Okay.
So going through and trying to get myself mentally stable was realizing at the end of the day, the situation that's coming into play, is it my will or was it somebody else's will? Am I trying to influence the situation to best benefit myself, or am I actually contributing to the cause and helping somebody else?
Okay. So, all right, cool. Yeah. So I think just from what you explained now, Nat, it sounds like you were taught a lot of skill sets there that you maybe hadn't learned or maybe hadn't paid attention to earlier on, which I laugh because I can relate. Very similar background. Also didn't really pay attention too much at school. Wasn't too bothered with that. Just wanted to get out, work and make money. That was my priority. I wasn't too worried about schooling and stuff like that. So I can definitely relate on that side. But what I found interesting, what you said there, is when you went through the programs and stuff like that, you learned obviously skill sets there. So do you want to maybe just go into a little bit more detail on those skill sets? Because the point I'm trying to make is all of these things, mindset things and that, it's skills that you learn, confidence, self-confidence, all of these things are actually learned skills. They're not something you're just naturally born with. And that's what we teach and stuff like that. So maybe just share a little bit more in detail, some of the techniques that you learned there, some things that could be helpful for other people that are watching this.
My whole life, I've come up through sports, whether it's team sports or individual sports, and hence the reason why I'm in the industry that I'm in. I enjoy it. I enjoy sports. Talent only counts for so much. The difference, what separates everybody else, is the effort that you put in. And coming out of the rehabilitation program, I failed plenty times. I still fail. But coming into the program, they start teaching you certain principles that if you know what's in the program, you will see those principles throughout life. And you have a look at all great people that keep doing the same type of things based on the same principles. Yes. So coming through the sport aspects, we focus so much from our body, from the neck down, what we look like, our tans, our muscles, our endurance. Exactly. That we do very little to focus on what goes up into our brains. And I mean, that's the influences, whether it's social media, whether it's the news, politics, substances. In the program, they taught us about one of the fundamentals in the program is abstinence from all mind-altering chemicals. So whether it's alcohol, whether it's painkillers, whether it's illegal narcotics, whatever it is, like everything to stop the mental side of drifting away and going somewhere else. And for me, that was difficult because, you know, when I was upset, I used to drink or take drugs, or if I really wanted a good party, I would take drinks and take drugs, and then the party's going to be even better. Now, all of a sudden, you have none of these chemicals in play, and you have to deal with everything raw in its natural ability. For me, I had to try and change what I was putting into my mind.
Okay. And how did you do that?
People started talking about reading, and I was like, oh, reading.
What's that?
When am I going to read? And being in the sport that it is, I tried to start reading, and unless it catches you straight away, no different to anything else. Whether you're watching a movie, the first 5 minutes is boring, you start watching that movie.
Yes, 100%.
And it was the same thing. So I started, just at that stage, one of the big players in our industry, and I'm hoping that you get to meet him one day or you get introduced to him, is a guy by the name of Joey Evans. I don't know if you've heard of him.
No. Okay.
So Joey Evans rode the Dakar Rally, I think it was 2018. I think it was 2018, 2017. Anyway, he broke his back and he was paralyzed. And the book is called From Para to Dakar.
I do. Somebody mentioned it to me about 2 months ago. Yeah, it must be the same. Yeah. And his journey and stuff like that. Yeah.
Absolutely. So he, fortunately, he wrote a book, and I saw it on TV, and he had written a book about his journey from Para to Dakar, because that's what the book is about.
Okay.
And I started picking up the book, and there were so many relations in there, from the motorcycle industry to the getting up early and working on bikes. And it was his journey that he was going through, of where he was, what he did to fix it, and where he is now. And that's basically what it is in the program as well, where they teach you where you were, what have you done to fix it, and where you are now. So for me, that created a lot of influence. It was the first book that I'd finished, that I'd read. And from there, I was just, okay, cool. So the reading does help.
Yes.
There's no doubt about it. So I started reading books. I started then picking up books, and I need to break things down so it made sense to me. Because if you look at a book, you're like, oh, but it's a long time to read, and I don't have time. And I broke it down, and I said, okay, fine. Well, if I do 5 pages in the morning and 5 pages at night, that's 10 pages a day. That's 300 pages a month. And
Yes.
if you're doing 10 pages a day, 30 days in a month, and I could break it down and say, okay, fine, well, I can actually do 12 books in a year instead of just doing 1 book a year. So I started buying the books that made sense to me. Motivation, inspiration. I read Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, about how he started the Nike brand, because I'm sort of starting my own company, and what he did in certain. And now all of a sudden, my whole mindset had changed, because what I'm putting into my head is now starting to make a lot more sense. I'm finding value in that. And it's changing my attitude, my perception. I used to love the news. The news for me, I would watch religiously every morning, every evening, every hour on the hour. We switch off, we listen to what's going on in the news. And it wasn't helping me from where I was. So I spent a lot of time traveling in the vehicle, in my car. So I would put motivational speeches on YouTube and listen to it through the car.
Okay.
And the more things start getting thrown at you, the more certain things start sticking. I mean, you listen to some popular quotes from Steve Jobs. You listen to the motivational videos from Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, from wrestling. And all of a sudden, certain things start coming into play, and you start seeing a different side of things. So if you want to change the world, as the quote goes, you want to change the world, change yourself.
Yes.
And that for me was important, is that I was grumpy, I was moody, things are not working right. And, but then all of a sudden, what are you grateful for? And it's one of the things that are in the program as well. And I always refer back to the program, because there's certain parts in my day that I always have to refer to that program that we always take for granted. In the meetings, they tell you to do 90 meetings in 90 days, and it's a foundation. And I said to my sponsor, and I said, what happens when I run out of 90 meetings, 90 days? Because it's always a goal. Tell me where I'm going. Once I've achieved it, I'm happy. Okay, move on. And I said, what happens when you do 90 meetings in 90 days? He says, then you do another 90 meetings in 90 days. I said, after that, another meeting in 90 days. And it's that repetition, that routine that everybody starts. We don't want to do routine. We don't want to do the things that we want to, we don't feel like doing. I don't feel like getting up in the morning. I don't feel like doing this. But the sooner you get into the routine, the sooner it starts becoming easier. And from there, I lost my train of thought.
So you mentioned quite a few things there now that I picked up on. So one on the last one is repetition, habits. The thing is, we've all actually got habits. Some are just good and some are bad. So if you wake up every morning late, it's a habit. So we all have habits, and we all do repetition, but we just don't realize we're doing it. But the things that we should do the most are the ones that we struggle the most with for whatever reason. So when you started on this thing of this mission of like, okay, cool, I'm going to start just reading, and stuff started making sense, and obviously it started resonating with you. What from there did you start seeing? Because often the things that we teach is when this changes, then everything around you changes. So you mentioned relationships, you were grumpy and this and that. And I'm speaking from experience here. I've just gone through a hectic journey in the last 4 months. Very similar things started changing this, and everything started changing. That's why you and I are having this conversation today. I started my whole connection list, and everybody that I'm starting to have connections with has changed because of it. So for you, maybe can you share with us how anything that jumps to mind that's changed when you started doing these exercises or reading or all this input that you put in?
Absolutely. So I was very aggressive beforehand, whether it was the substance, whether it was being arrogant, cocky, whichever one you want to use. And I always had to be the person that needed to be heard. I'm fortunate and blessed that I've got a loud voice, so I can speak very loudly. And I would always talk over people. I would break people down. It's not a trait that I'm happy about.
Yes.
But over the last 18 months, maybe 2 years, because last year was difficult for me. I had a motorcycle accident in February. And from doing all the right things, going to gym, reading, not doing any of the drugs or anything else that's supposed to be done with it, but doing everything right, I hit the ground really hard. And you talk about a rock bottom in recovery, but then you talk about a rock bottom mentally itself. And I mean, you mentioned now 4 months ago, you've had this issue. But with the reading, all it's done is help me, give me the tools about how to deal and move forward in every experience. I'm 38 at the moment. I've got 2 kids. Okay. I'm married. I have my own company. I've got 2 companies. I've never been at this stage in my life before, ever. That's awesome. So I have no idea what's coming. I have no idea what the day is going to be. I have no idea what the next hour is going to bring. But what the reading and all these things have done to help me is that it's given me the tools so that no matter what comes into my equation, walk through my door at any stage, I have something that I can lean back on, that I can be like, okay, cool. Let me just try and deal with this the best way possible. This is what I've been trained for. This is what I've exercised for. All self-taught, listening to the motivational videos, reading, getting up in the morning, going to the gym, all of these type of tools that fill up to say that if something happens in my circle now, can I deal with it? Whether it's mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially, have I set myself up that I can actually deal with this? So coming back to the reading, when a situation comes into play, instead of my first reaction is to dominate, manipulate the situation to best suit me, because that's what addicts do. Yes. So we try and manipulate the situation to best suit us. Whereas now, say, take myself out of the equation, how do you feel about it? And it's something I don't even ask people anymore, because it's not in the same vocabulary. Ryan doesn't care what other people think. He just does what he does anyway. Whereas now it's not benefiting me anymore. I'm saying, okay, Quentin, how do you feel? Could you have changed anything else in the situation, barring the reaction that you had? Because we all, we have a reaction, we have a fight, whatever. Well, he can get lost. I don't actually want to speak to him again.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine, Quentin, but what part did you play in the equation? And could you have done anything differently? I mean, because I've had that told to me before. And I hate apologizing, as most males do. We don't like to apologize. And I work with what's helped me with the reading and get my mindset to where it goes to now is that if a situation comes onto my table that I have to deal with, am I doing it to the best of my ability? Am I doing it with everybody else's minds or everybody else's agendas at heart, or is it only my agenda? And then have a look at the situation. So at the end of the day, if somebody says, why did you do that, Ryan? I say, okay, fine. Based on these parameters over here, based on the situation that's coming to play, this was my decision from it. If it was the wrong decision, I apologize. But based on the information that I had, this is it. Whether it's at home, whether it's at work, whether it's in the traffic and driving and shouting at somebody that's cut me off, where was I at that state of mind? And maybe that person, because it's been said to me before, maybe that person was in a rush to go and see somebody that was in trouble. Maybe there was somebody in the hospital that needed to go over there. Maybe that person is having a really bad day.
Yes.
And are you making it different? But now I'm the one that's getting upset. And now I've got to go and prove my point over there. Instead of letting it go, a lot easier said than done. But that's the training that comes into play. That's the filling up your mind with positive stuff.
Yeah, the input and stuff like that. So you mentioned a whole bunch of interesting things there again now, because so a lot of this stuff is, first of all, one, repetition. What you're doing there by asking the questions, I'm not sure if you're aware of it, or maybe it's from what you've been taught through the programs and stuff like that, but like life coaching and all of this, the gold or the rainbow, the pot at the end of the rainbow is basically when you're asking the right questions. So when you're questioning, we all question ourselves and they have self-talk. And when you're questioning and you're asking the right questions, it leads to different answers, which leads to different reactions and all emotions, reactions. And then, so it's like a whole path that follows by asking the right questions. So I really like what you said there, is that you're starting now to ask those questions of, the right questions, if it makes sense. So you get different answers.
Absolutely.
It's awesome. And I think the key thing is also, which you've mentioned a few times now, is the repetition of the stuff. You don't pick up a book and read it today and tomorrow your life changes. It doesn't work like that. It's an ongoing thing and stuff like it, which is awesome. What I want to ask you this question, I don't often ask it, but what is important to you right now as Ryan, where you are in your life at the moment? What's important to you now? The main things that's important to you.
From a personal level, what I work hard for every day is that, am I doing the best that I can with what I have, and putting the effort in the program. When you go, you can do whatever you want. You can try and be the party boy when you go out. You can try and be the business person when you're at the office. You can fill yourself up with material things, buy fancy cars, clothes, neatness, everything. But yes, at the end of your day, when you lie on the pillow, there's only you in your mind that you have to deal with. And the more that you become in touch with yourself, you realize, have you done the best that you can today? Have you done everything possible to the best of your ability? And if you can answer that truthfully to yourself, because it doesn't matter to anybody else, you can paint whatever picture you want when you wake up in the morning to get dressed. But if you can answer that truly to yourself, then it starts making a lot more sense. And for me, that's important. So whether it's work, have I done the best? I mean, I get to work as early as I can. I'd be at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'd sleep in my office if I could, but it's just not a balanced life. In truth, I've got the kids, I've got the family, I'm happy with that. If I'm riding a motorcycle, if I'm playing a sport, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. Obviously, like Dylan, your recent person that you interviewed, Dylan Jacobson, says you run out of talent, and I have, as we all do, and it doesn't have to just be in sport. It can be in life. You can go around and wing it for as long as possible, and all of a sudden something happens, and you make a bad decision, and everything crumbles. Now, you've either run out of talent, or are you equipped with that? The difference is getting up and putting the effort back in. So for me, you asked me that question. What is important to me is that, am I doing the best that I can with what I have? I don't have everything, but I'm grateful for what I've got. I'm blessed because I sometimes have more than most. Things don't always go my way. Some days are tough. There's more tough days than good days. But at the end of the day, have I done the best that I can with what I've got?
So that's awesome. So that's actually a question that, in December, that was the question I asked myself. I've also got a daughter, she's 12, and I always say she's 12 turning 24 because she knows everything. But what I wanted to say is, sorry, I've just got a call coming through here now, and I'm just trying to cut that off. Okay. So what I wanted to say is that that's the question that I asked myself in December, was similar to what you're saying now, is, am I being the best version of myself? Like, can I honestly look at my daughter and say, you can do everything and be anything in life? Am I reflecting that? Or am I like standing with a cigarette and a beer in my hand telling her you can do anything in your life? That's exactly what I went through. So that's where my change was. I was like, I'm not. So I'm not. And I knew it. I'm actually getting goosebumps as I'm talking about it now. But yeah, so that's really awesome. Ryan, in wrapping up in that, I wanted to ask you, you've obviously had you haven't had an easy road with a silver spoon in your mouth. You've made some cuck decisions. Obviously, we all have, so I can relate. Also been through the drug thing, all of that. I didn't end up in rehab and stuff. I somehow managed to sort myself out. I don't know how I did it, but also passed and stuff like that. With that and becoming a successful business or on a business owner or entrepreneur, what can you maybe give us 2 or 3 tips for somebody maybe starting a business out there? Maybe where your journey was 10 years ago, maybe they stuck there. Maybe something to say, listen, it's, there's options. Maybe can you share something with us? Maybe 2 or 3 tips. Yeah.
On the tip side, I think what's helped me, and again, I talk from my own personal experience. I don't believe that everybody is the same, but if you follow the same type of foundations, I believe that you can get there.
Yes.
A big tip is attitude. For me, attitude revolves around everything. If you want something, go and get it. Do it. If it ticks all the boxes, you're able to survive on it. You don't have to have millions to be happy. you can do a lot more with a lot less, as long as you're happy. I mean, you can. Okay. So for me, it's attitude. Attitude's there. And number two is effort. Like you mentioned, I'm very grateful that I came from a solid foundation, and my parents gave me everything that they could, and it was perfect. I got more than most, and I was blessed with more than most. But there were still people that had more than me, and I had to put effort in. I had to make sacrifices. But the other one is effort. You keep putting it in, day in and day out. So yeah, if you know where you're going, have a visualization, know where you're going, and what are you willing to sacrifice to get that? Whether it's work, friends, personal, countries, family, whatever it is. If you know where you want to go, the right people will follow you. I'm blessed that I've had a lot of people that have followed me on this journey. I've lost some friends along the journey, but that's where it goes. I'm happy with where I've got to now. I've made, like you mentioned, made some bad mistakes, but if you're doing it for the right reason, and again, if it's not just for your own personal satisfaction, I do it for my wife, I do it for my kids, and I'm blessed that I can do what I do and give them the opportunities that I think that they would enjoy as a family.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, cool, guys. So we've come to the end of this. Ryan, what is the best way for people to connect with you? Where are you most active on social media, or if they are looking for bike accessories and stuff like that, where's the best place to connect with you?
I'm quite active on Facebook, so you can find me on Facebook over there. My personal and my business account is all together. Cool. It's only purely because I'm fortunate that the business and the pleasure mixed together, and that's my life. I mean, that's where I'm at. So you can find me there. So yeah, on Facebook.
Right. Cool. So just so if you guys, you'll be watching this on YouTube, at the bottom of this video, I will have all the links from Ryan. I'll add them there, so you can just connect with Ryan that way. And then, yeah, that brings us to the end. I also want to just, if you guys are watching this, please subscribe to this channel. Now I have an interview like this at least once a week, and then you'll be notified of the next interview. And yeah, Ryan, I really appreciate your time. You've left us also some good insight in that, and I appreciate it from a business perspective. Awesome. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Quentin.
Cheers, bud.
Bye.